back to my kitchen. If you're new here, my name is Brandy and I would like to welcome you to my channel, Sewing Back. So today I have a lot to do in my kitchen. I forgot my post-it note. But I know kind of what I need to get done and the order in which I need to do it. So the first thing I'm working on is, if you just heard my microwave go off, I am heating up some of my Berkey water so that I can bloom some yeast to make some focaccia bread to go with our dinner. I'm not doing a sourdough tonight because unfortunately in the busyness of the last several days, I have not fed my starter as I should, and so it's a little sorry looking and I need to clean it up and give it a good feed and just let it kind of rehydrate. So no, we're not going to do sourdough. So I'm going to do a yeast-based focaccia. This comes from Natasha's Kitchen. She has some really great recipe and tricks and things that you can find on her blog. And I've tried some of her other stuff in the past, so I thought I would give this a try. It is you can start it at lunch and it'll be ready to go for dinner, because you do have to do the stretch and folds. But the first thing I need to do is I need to get my yeast blooming. So let's check the temperature of my water. I have a little thermometer. I got this from Chores for Health. So you can use this with any kind of fermentations, and I love this thing. And so you want to get your water between about 110 to 115 degrees. If it's hotter than that, then I'll probably put a couple ice cubes in. It's climbing, so I'm probably going to have to put a couple ice cubes in.
So the ice cube helped cool the water to the proper temperature to bloom my yeast. I also added a teaspoon of honey to that yeast. Adding sugar or honey will help really activate the yeast. Here I am measuring out 3 3/4 cup of einkorn flour. This is an all-purpose einkorn. I have an abundance and I'm trying to use it. And I'm going to use my Jovial dough tool. I got this from Jovial Foods when I bought their cookbook. I think it came with it. I've had it for a while. But if you're doing a shaggy dough, a crusty bread, and particularly using ancient grains, I don't know, but this dough hook just really gets the job done, and I love it. So I use it a lot unless I'm using my mixer. So the other thing that I did was I just added in that yeast and the bloomed yeast in the water and with the honey. And as you can see, the dough's pretty sticky, so I'm going to put some oil on my hands to help manage it a little bit and knead it just a little bit in the bowl, trying to get it ready for the stretch and fold phase, which is, it's a process. Every 30 to 45 minutes you're going to stretch and fold it 4 times, and then you cover it, put it back to proof, and you do it again. And after that you can eventually get it in your pan and bake it.
It's been about 45 minutes. Let's see, it's about doubled. A lot of people say it's helpful if you get your hands, you dip them in water for the stretch and fold to keep it from sticking. And if you're using just a normal all-purpose, this is gonna fold more, stretch more, and fold. There's not as much gluten in einkorn. And you just want to do this 4 times each side. And you don't want to break the gluten strands. And then you're going to let it rest for 30 minutes and you're going to do it again. That infused garlic oil I used smells so good. Oh, that smells so good. All right, I'm just going to cover it back up I proof mine in my microwave drawer. It is a wonderful proofing drawer. And I will see you in 30 minutes. Okay guys, my timer just went off. This is our last stretch and fold. I just washed my hands so they're still a little wet. Oh yeah. Woo, this is gonna be nice. And remember, if you're not using an ancient grain like kamut or einkorn all-purpose, yours is probably going to stretch more because it has more gluten. These ancient grains have the least amount of gluten. So, ooh. Okay, so we're gonna, that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna cover this. This is supposed to rest for 30 more minutes, and then we're gonna put it in our pan with some olive oil and our the rest of our toppings that are gonna go on top of it before we get it ready to bake. So we're almost there.
So now I am taking some infused garlic olive oil and putting it in the bottom of my pan, and I'm making the topping. The topping is 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons of water, 2 cloves of garlic minced, half of a teaspoon of salt. Then you need 1.5 teaspoons of fresh rosemary that you have chopped. And then the last part is to have 1 teaspoon of kosher salt or flaky salt that you can sprinkle on top. So that won't actually go in this mixture. That's one that once you're putting it together, you will actually sprinkle that last bit of salt onto the focaccia bread. Now I found in my pantry this Celtic gray salt, and it's a kosher, kind of like kosher size salt. And that's what I use because that's what I found in the pantry, and all of my Redmond real salt is the fine variety of it. So this worked out really well. It was very tasty, and so I can I'm pretty sure I got that from Azure, so I can link Azure in the description if that's something you're interested in. But I'm sure I'll also link it in Amazon because I'm pretty sure you can find it on Amazon as well. So now we're dimpling the focaccia, and matter of fact, I believe in Natasha's notes she says play it like it's a piano. And so we do that, and then we're going to cover it and let it rise for 30 minutes. And so I did this. I actually just set it on the stove because everything was kind of warm. I was starting my prep for dinner. And here's the next step. It is emptying a dishwasher. It's done washing, and we need to get it emptied, put away, so that we can reload it and just keep going with the task at hand. There is just something wonderful about finishing your meal at the end of the day, and there's not barely any dishes to do because you did them along the way. That's one of my favorite things because usually by the end of the day, I'm whooped. I'm tired. I don't want to come clean a kitchen, but I also don't want to wake up to a dirty kitchen. So the last thing here I'm doing is my eggs. I needed to wash my eggs and get them in new cartons because I had a customer I needed to deliver to. And per the regulations in our state, this is what you have to do to sell eggs.
I have garlic scapes that I want to dehydrate in my food dehydrator. I have a Corsori food dehydrator. And I think I'm actually going to move it to the garage because everything I've read is when you're doing peppers, garlic, onions, it's very strong and probably not what you want to do in the up part of your house, particularly if you have someone who's asthmatic, which I do. One of my sons is severely asthmatic. So I'm going to put it down in the garage and let it run because I think it's going to run for at least 24 hours to get them fully dried out. With the garden scapes, you can powder it and then just put it in place where it calls for garlic. You can use those. But I'm thinking about making my own garlic salt, and I was talking with someone on one of my groups that I'm in on Facebook, and it's a Georgia gardening group, and she showed what she made hers, and she kind of shared her recipe with me. Her name was Kathy. And so I think I want to give it a try. I think that John, he loves garlic salt, as does a couple of my sons. They really like garlic salt. So I thought, why not? I have plenty of Redmond's real salt. And I typically buy the garlic salt by Redmond's, but it actually costs a little bit more than just the salt. So why not make my own? So that's what I'm gonna try to do. And I have a few onions that out of my harvest that were pretty small. So I'm thinking I may dry those as well, slice those up and do a tray of onions at the same time that I'm doing my garlic scapes. And then this morning, I've got my first basket of green beans. They are beautiful. And I am going to can these up, so I need to wash them and snap them or pop them, popping beans. That's what my Mimi would say. Let's pop some beans. I wanted to show you my food dehydrator. It is the Corsori. It has 6 trays. I have it sitting right here because I haven't used it in a while. It's dusty. And I have decided to do this on my back porch. I have an outlet and the weather's supposed to be okay, no more rain. And I would rather this smell be outside than all in my house. I do have a child that's asthmatic. I was gonna do it in the garage, but his room's kind of over the garage. And just from cutting this, it's so pungent. I feel like it's better to do it. And since I have my little buddy table that came with that I got to go with my Weber griddle, I have a place to sit this right next to the plug. So that's what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna wipe it out. But I wanted to show you what it looks like. These are so easy to use. They're pretty inexpensive. And if you're a gardener, really not a bad investment. Hydrating trays here. And these are my garlic scapes that I harvested. And you can see, I kind of do these little loopity loops. You are not gonna want too far down as it's very woody, and you don't want up here by the bulb. If I would have left it in the ground, this would have flowered and put on seed, and all the energy would have went into that instead of bulbing out my hardneck garlic. So I kind of want to use the more pliable part in between, and I'm going to chop that up into smaller pieces for the dehydration part in my Corsori food dehydrator. And I can link the one I have in the description. And so yeah, so I'm just gonna get to chopping these.
So I'm cutting up my garlic scapes and I'm putting them onto the food dehydrator pans, and my goal is to take all of these and mix them with some of that gray sea salt in my Ninja once they're dried out, and make my own garlic salt. And so I'll let you know what I think about it once I get it all done.
Okay, so when you're dehydrating things, guys, you want to you don't want to overfill your tray, or it can take longer. You want there to be some space. Now these are actually the fruit roll-up trays, and I usually just put this on the bottom, and then I have these or what I typically will use, but this has a lip on it, so for transporting, I'm just putting it on here. See, I have set up my table right here. I scooched the griddle over, and I moved the table here because this is where the plug is. So I have my trays. I have 3 of garlic scapes, and I have 3 of the smaller onions that I'm going to be drying. And there is a fan in the back of the Corsori. Let me see. Quit, Odie. Quit eating my plant, please. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can get in there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a fan back there. And so what I did is I did my fruit roll up. I went ahead and kept these on here so they didn't fall through. And the onions are wetter, so I used the ones that have the holes through them. And I did every other. So that should get good airflow. I am happy. I'm doing this outside after being in and out of the house and smelling how pungent just cutting these were. Yeah. So we're going to close our door. And you just hit the time temperature button. It's at 125, which is what we need this to be to dry these. And then we're going to hit it again. Oops, sorry. We're going to hit it again because we need it to go for 24 hours. Oops. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to hit start. And that's it. And you can't probably hear it. I'm outside. My air conditioning's running. I don't know if you can totally hear that or not. I have a fly biting me. But yeah, that's it. And we checked the weather forecast. I feel good about this. So if I feel like something's going to come up, then I'll just move it over to our table. I don't necessarily want to do that, but it's covered. And I could do that if I need to. And then just start it back up when weather permits. But like I said, I think I'm pretty good. So one of my last tasks for this video is all the food prep for tonight's dinner, which is the vegetable lasagna. And so I am using my Ninja to shred the last of my mozzarella Azure cheese. I also shred my own Parmigiano Reggiano for this recipe, and I got my zucchini done for zucchini bread, which I made the following day. And I had to get the red peppers diced, and the Ninja makes it so easy. It is Focaccia time! Alright, so I'm going to redo the dimples per Natasha's instructions. And then I have my topping sauce with my fresh garlic from my garden and rosemary and some extra virgin olive oil with a little bit of kosher salt. And I actually have a brush. I can brush that on, but I'm going to get my hands in this because she says you want to play it like it's a piano because that's going to help it with those bubbles that'll pop up in the bread and be wonderfully delicious. Okay, so, oops. And I have grated up all my cheeses and zucchini. I won't even get to the zucchini today. It's just too late, and that's okay. There's always tomorrow, as Scarlett O'Hara would say. All right, so that's what it looks like. Can you see all those dimples? All right, so now honestly, I'm just gonna pour it over and then I'll brush. I'm gonna get all that goodness out. This is gonna bake at 450 degrees for somewhere between 22 and 25 minutes. I saw in her notes that she said her family likes, they like the 25 minutes so that the edges are real crispy. I don't think the brush works too good with that. So I'm just trying to evenly distribute the rosemary, and then the last thing we're going to put on before we put this thing in the oven is the coarse salt. Now you could use whatever coarse salt you have. This is what I have, and that's what we're going with. Okay, And she says to use about a teaspoon, and you just kind of want to sprinkle it on. And then it's ready to go in the oven. So, see? So we're gonna get this in the oven, 450, 22 to 25-ish minutes. Watch it. Everybody's oven is their oven. So just keep an eye out. If it smells like it's burning, take it out. But from her instructions, you want the crispy edges, okay? So let me put this in the oven and I will see you when it comes out. I'm super excited. This has been a process, but honestly, I've been busy doing so many other things, filling my dehydrator that I have going outside, getting dinner prepped. A lot of my dinner prep has been done. I have shredded my zucchini for zucchini bread with the zucchini that came out of my garden. I was able to process the garlic, scapes, the onions. I have got all my chopping, my cheese, everything for tonight's dinner, which will be in another video. It'll be in my recap of what we ate for the week for dinner during the pantry challenge. And I've also got like all my sheets washed and dried and my comforter, and I did garden chores. I saved Goldie Girl's life. She got caught up in the netting that my dog had messed it, had fallen down, and I just happened to be in the garden. It wasn't just a happen, that's a God thing, because I would have been devastated. She is my oldest chicken, and I love her dearly. I've raised her since she was hatched, and she was struggling, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and Odie started barking. And so I came up out of the garden and I saw that the more she struggled, the more she was getting entangled. So we have that fixed now. And we have a fix for it so that it can't happen again. So anyway, so it has been an action-packed day. I appreciate you coming along. And I hope that you'll give making focaccia a try from scratch. Pretty easy. It is a little time consuming, but it was one of those things I just set my timer. And when it was time to fold and stretch, I folded and stretched. You just need some staples on hand. You don't have to have a garden. You can get these things from your local grocery store. And you don't have to do the rosemary. You could do garlic, you could do basil, you could do anything you wanted. And so if rosemary is not your thing, I'm excited to give this one a try. Actually, you could do dried spices if you have that. You don't have to have fresh. Just remember that you kind of taste it, because usually the dried, you don't want to use the same amounts because it's a little more potent. So, but that also depends on who you ask, because some people say fresh is more potent. So I don't know. It's always good to kind of taste as you go to make sure it's to your liking. So anyway, I'm gonna get this in the oven. I will show you what it looks like when it comes out, and I will see you in another video, because I'm fixing to start a continuation of the video for tonight's dinner, because we're having vegetable lasagna.
Y'all, the focaccia was amazing. Every bit of it was eaten, and the garlic scapes are still waiting for me to make my salt. I'll see you next time. Bye.